Navia is the Geo 5-star I've been waiting for. She has an elegant design, beautiful animations, big damage, and she's incredibly fun to play. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, and now let's talk about Navia. Her normal attacks consist of a 4-hit combo with high multipliers that feel really smooth for a Claymore user and have some of my favorite attack animations in the game. Navia's skill is her bread and butter. It deals a massive single instance of geo damage that increases with the amount of crystallized shards that have been picked up by all team members up to 6 stacks. When 0, 1, 2, or 3 or more stacks are consumed, she fires 5, 7, 9, or 11 shard shots respectively, and if all 11 hit a single enemy, the damage to it is increased by 200%. The multiplier on her skill is insanely high, has 2 charges, each with a 9-second cooldown, and will proc a Surging Blade that deals Uxia aligned geo damage on a 7-second cooldown. You can also hold her skill to draw in nearby crystallized shards to gain stacks if needed before firing off the attack, which acts the same way as the tap version. Her burst deals a large instance of AoE geo damage, followed by continuous smaller instances of cannon fire support geo damage over 12 seconds. It costs 60 energy, and though the multipliers are relatively low, with a 15-second cooldown it has a very high uptime, providing a source of constant damage as well as crystallized shards, making it a non-negligible portion of her overall damage. It also follows the character around, so as long as enemies are nearby, you don't have to worry about them getting hit or not. Her first Ascension passive converts her normal charged and plunge attacks to geo damage, which cannot be overridden, and increases their damage by 40% for 4 seconds after using her skill. This allows you to skill, insert a normal attack combo of your choice, followed by the second charge of her skill, and then a second normal attack combo before switching out. Her fourth Ascension passive increases her attack by 20% for each Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro unit in the team, up to 2 team members for a total of 40% increased attack, and these 2 party members can be of the same element. Lastly, her utility passive increases rewards obtained by 25% when she's dispatched on a Fontaine expedition for 20 hours. Her talent priority will be first and foremost her skill, followed by her burst and normal attacks equally, or again her skill first, followed by her burst, and then her normal attacks last, if at all, if you're opting for an entirely quick swap playstyle. As well, level her up to at least 80 out of 90 to get the maximum crit damage increase from her final ascension. Navia is a complete and very strong unit at C0, so though unnecessary, if you choose to go for her constellations, they are as follows. C1 restores 3 energy and reduces her burst cooldown when using her skill. This can both lower her energy requirements and give her burst 100% uptime in certain rotations. C2 increases the crit rate of her skill by 12% for each stack of crystal shrapnel consumed up to 3 stacks for 36% crit rate, and fires off 1 shot of cannon fire support, considered burst damage. This basically gives her skill 100% crit rate if you have 64% from substats, and can grant a free crystal shrapnel charge if the cannon fire support shot triggers crystallize. C3 gives an extra 3 levels to her skill, the main source of her damage, and C5 gives 3 levels to her burst. C4 causes opponents hit by Navia's burst to have their geo resistance decreased by 20% for 8 seconds. This applies to the entire duration of her burst, effectively granting 20 seconds total of the geo res shred, which is a significant increase to her damage, especially if paired with another geo teammate as it stacks with geo resonance. Finally, C6 increases the crit damage of her skill by 45% for each stack of crystal shrapnel consumed beyond 3, up to 135% at 6 stacks. It will also refund any stacks that were consumed beyond the first 3, reducing the amount needed to regain max stacks again. This is a massive increase to her damage in general, and alleviates some of the effort required to have her always use the maximum amount of stacks on her skill. If you're not going all the way to C6, any of her first 3 or even C4 are all good stopping points, but as I said before, even at C0 she is a force to be reckoned with. Moving on to artifacts, her best set is going to be the new Nighttime Whispers in the Echoing Woods, as it gives 18% attack on the 2-piece, and the 4-piece set gives 20% geo damage after using an elemental skill, which increases by 150% for a total of 50% geo damage while under a crystallized shield. A very strong option that can be her best is the 4-piece Maréchaussée Hunter set, but only if you're you're playing her with Furina, as she is needed to trigger the HP mechanic. This set also incentivizes players to use Navia's normal attacks between skill uses. If opting for a completely quick swap playstyle and forgoing most of Navia's on-field time, the 4-piece Golden Troop set can be used to maximize the damage from her skill. Otherwise, any 2-piece combination of 18% attack, Golden Troop, and Archaic Petra based on substats can be used while you're either farming for a 4-piece set, or if you don't want to farm the new domain and or don't plan on running her with Furina. For artifact sets, you'll want an attack sans, geo damage goblet, and crit rate or damage circlet depending on what you need for a balanced ratio. Remember that Navia's damage is front-loaded by massive single instanced hits, so she prefers tipping the scale towards crit rate. For substats, you're looking for crit rate and damage, attack percent, and enough energy recharge to burst off cooldown. This amount will vary depending on your team and rotation, but anywhere in the 120 to 140 range is a safe bet, and Navia's playstyle is flexible enough that you can swap in and out to her to burst whenever it's up. As for weapons, her signature 5-star Verdict is of course her best in slot, as it was designed specifically for her, though not by a huge margin in terms of damage, but wins by a mile for the drip. Her best alternative is going to be the Serpent Spine at Refinement 5 with max stacks on the passive. This weapon can rival her signature's damage output, however it is behind a paywall, or rather 5 paywalls, and the stack mechanic may or may not be an issue depending on the player. That being said, if you have it, Beacon of the Red Sea is her best 5-star alternative for the high base attack and crit rate, as well. Besides the HP portion, the passive works well with Navia's kit. Though being just below our 5 Serpent Spine on paper, it can be more consistent. Other 5-star claymores such as Redhorn Stone Thresher, even though it has a low base attack, it makes up for it with the massive crit damage stat, and of course by running Bennett. Wolf's Gravestone, the Unforged, and even Skyward Pride for its high base attack, and it alone can cover Navia's energy needs, are all good options. Her best free-to-play weapon is the Event Claymore Ultimate Overlord's Mega Magic Stick, as it provides a lot of attack and also fulfills her energy requirements. It is also, of course, completely free. Just make sure you do all the Melazine world quests to maximize the passive. Other 4-star options can be Sack Greatsword, specifically at high refinements, Talking Stick, though if you're spending, you might as well go for Serpent Spine instead, Tidal Shadow if you're looking for a craftable option, and Lithic Blade at high refinements and with at least one Liyue teammate. When it comes to her teams, Navia strays from the traditional mono-geo archetype we've grown accustomed to, as her Ascension passive incentivizes her to be played with non-geo teammates. This does only account for 2 of her teammates though, so using one other geo to enable geo resonance is great. Zhongli is a good option for his strong shield, and you can lean into his burst sub DPS capabilities due to Navia not needing a ton of field time regardless of playstyle. Albedo provides great off-field damage and can trigger Crystallize consistently, as well as providing energy. Ningguang can be used as a burst sub DPS and can even hold Thrilling Tales to buff Navia's damage, though at the cost of her own. She's also a great geo battery. And Noelle, though she requires quite a bit of field time herself, can be a good teammate with Navia and Furina. For your other teammates, you can use pretty much whoever you want as long as they're not Dendro or Anemo, with the exception of Jean, if you're running Furina, as Furina's damage buffs can make up for the lost stack of Navia's passive. Some of my favorite teams for Navia are with Thoma, Bennett, and Albedo, Zhongli, Bennett, and Xiangling, Fischl, Beidou, and Geo Flex, Xingqiu, Yelan, and a Flex who can be Geo, Electro, or of course Bennett, and the list goes on. So experiment with who you like playing, and even though Geo Resonance is strong, don't be afraid to run Navia as the solo Geo in the team, just make sure she has enough energy to burst every rotation. To wrap it up, I just want to say that for the first Geo DPS to be released since Ito all the way back in 2.3, Navia definitely didn't disappoint. Her teams are flexible, she deals a ton of damage, she's free to play friendly, and is fun as hell to play. As always, thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe for more videos to come, and I will see you next time.